Hello, I'm Ron. Welcome back to another edition of Classic Model Trains. With this video, I am celebrating having over 500 subscribers. Just less than 21 days ago, I was filming my 100 subscriber video, and then 21 days later, now I'm filming my over 500 subscriber video. This is just great how you guys are responding to this channel and my content. I love it so much. Thank all you people out there so much that have subscribed. Thank you. All the new people that might subscribe, if you're considering it, thank you. This has been an awesome journey for me so far. Thank you so much. Today, I'm going to be talking about the AC Gilbert American Flyer models in HO scale. I have managed to find myself a pre-war Hudson locomotive off of eBay, and I purchased it to do a restoration on it. I want to show you all the steps that was involved in doing that here. The Hudson locomotive was engineered to replace the Pacific locomotives because they needed to get a little more speed out of them. So they added an extra axle on the trailing truck and lengthened the boiler, made a larger firebox, which allowed them to run a little higher pressure, about 275 psi. The president of New York Central Lines was the ones that kind of came up with the nickname of calling them Hudsons, because it was named after the Hudson River in New York. The Milwaukee Railroad referred to their 464s as Baltics. American Flyer's first and only locomotive available up until 1949 was the Hudson locomotive. It was modeled after the J1E Hudson that was one of the New York Central's locomotives, designed by the American Locomotive Company, or as we call them today, ALCO. The American Flyer line of Hudsons was available from 1938 until the HO line stopped production in 1963. The casting for the boiler and the tender remained relatively unchanged this entire time, only allowing for certain boiler changes, for notches, for different motor options that were available in them. The pre-war American Flyer Hudsons were available from 1938 to 1942, and all of them included an AC powered motor inside of them. 1947 would see the Hudson available with a 3-part wheel using a white plastic as an insulation material between the brass wheels and the axles, and it had a smoke-in tender unit. The smoke generator was in the tender, and they piped it up into the chimney on the locomotive. The smoking unit was relocated to the boiler in 1950 and up.
This is what the old girl looked like right after unpacking it from an eBay purchase.
I honestly didn't know much about this locomotive when I got it. I've got about 2 hours of footage on the dismantling, repairing, and assembling. But as you watch this video, you might notice continuity errors. Some of the original footage, I didn't do a very good job of shooting it, so I kind of had to go back and reshoot it to make the storyline make more sense. But then you'll notice that the locomotive will be in different forward and backward stages of completion in a couple of spots. So this I do apologize for. This tender's got 4 wires going into it. I think this is the smoke. I don't know. We're going to take it apart and we're going to find out though. See what we got to do. Get this tender shell off. Got to take everything and strip it down, no matter what, for cleaning, ultrasonic cleaning. So I'm going to say that there's a bolt back here, and there's 2 of them up here. To take the boiler off the frame on this AC unit here, there's 4 bolts that got to be removed. One is right here, one is on the opposite side, one is this lead truck right here. That'll come all the way out with this little spring. And the other one is stashed right down in this hole at the back of the cab. And that is how you get into this. I've already been in here and I've cleaned all this up, but I wanted to, the first time I tried to take it apart, I didn't do a very good job of explaining it to myself. So there is a
weight, big monster weight that comes out of this cab. This sits up in here. And I have decided that once this boiler's off, these steam cylinders have a tendency to fall off when you're not looking. And then your side rods, see, it's already done it over here. The side rods come undone. So I put this bolt in here, got a number 6 nut, and I just use this to temporarily hold the steam pistons on so I don't lose the timing going on right here. I thought this was neat, since the way that this is designed, it's like the old wind-up clocks. One of the few things that you can actually push along and everything turns. All 3 of the axles are actually gear driven by these 2 idlers right in through here. Instead of the newer ones where usually one axle's driven and then they use the main rod to spin the other wheels. This is pretty neat. I removed a couple more bolts to get the motor frame and bull gear, side support bar, and bull gear out of the loco. I want to get this motor out of here. Looks like it's going to be this other screw. That one was brass. Wow, there's the frame. Here's the magnet. Oh my God. Armature. Still turns. Brushes coming in down right in here. This frame. See that? All the gears. They all turn.
After about an hour or so online, I was able to find some good information on this locomotive, which helped a lot in the disassembly and reassembly processes.
This is an AC motor. It's called a universal motor, made on the pre-war AC Gilbert American Flyers. This is a relay that switches the current back and forth. This is a non-permanent magnet right here. So the way this works is with an AC transformer. You turn it on, it goes one direction, you turn it off. When you turn it back on, this solenoid closes, switches the polarity with this little wheel that switches around right here, reverses the polarity in the brushes and the permanent magnet motor, and then it goes the other direction. After I made a interesting roadmap on how the whole thing's wired up, I'm going to now desolder stuff so I can get these individual components taken apart and I can begin soaking this. This is the brush holder right here. The little brush springs. These were the wires that held the brushes in, and they're just tinned. And all they did is once they put the spring in, they just put the wire through the end of the brush holder and bent it over. And that's what held the spring, that's what held the brushes in. Rotors right here. Sits in like this with the not permanent magnets sitting like this. And this pinion gear, it would drive off of there. So very, very complicated looking thing. They made a kit to swap this motor out and make it into a DC only. And I also found that you could do some creative rewiring, get rid of this, put a rectifier on these 2 wires that run this coil, and then you can make it into a DC operation with the switching back and forth being taken place by the transformer, the DC transformer. I removed all the old cloth insulated wire so later I could update it to new wires. Well, we can see how bad these trucks look with the corrosion on them. So I am going to put this in the ultrasonic cleaner in a Ziploc baggie, 50-50 water and simple green, and we'll see how well this comes out. This is just after 3 minutes inside the ultrasonic cleaner. I still might get in there with a wire wheel and clean up everything, but man, oh man, does it really wipe out the corrosion. I did a continuity check on the reversing solenoid, motor stator, electromagnet windings, and the commutators and windings. This is what the chassis and running gear looks like before I put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. One of the things you can notice is how translucent the fluid is before I get started. So just after a few minutes, you can't hardly see into the liquid anymore. Shows how much all the grease has been getting cleaned off up there. A couple of hours were spent cleaning,
rinsing and drying off the various components that make up this locomotive and tender. The motor and bull gear assembly got assembled off camera, along with the oiling of the axles, wheels, and all the side rods and steam cylinder components of the locomotive itself.
Kind of groovy. I'm going to wire it back up with some upgraded wiring with my fancy schematic that I made here when I took it apart. Brush holders are right up in here. I took a piece of wire, the new wire, and I've tinned the end of it. So we put the brush in, and then the spring, and then the saddest part is we got to compress the spring, and we got to push this wire in, and we got to do it without losing the spring out into the universe somewhere. I practiced on this one. I'll work it on this one here. I use this pen to get the wire in just some. And then I go to this screwdriver, because right now the spring is being held in by the wire currently. So now I'll compress the spring a little more, just like so. So it sticks out the bottom. Give it a little wrap around so it doesn't just pull out. Now them brushes are installed. Next I'm going to wire up new wires onto the electromagnetic coil. I finished soldering in the new wires according to my roadmap. First thing I wanted to do was test the reversing solenoid in the tender. Once that worked fine, I finished wiring up the brushes and stator wires to the reversing solenoid. This loco is supposed to be an AC powered motor, but I just wanted to see if it would work on DC. Sure enough, it does. The loco changes direction without me switching direction on my throttle. I guess the unnecessary solenoid change between loco directions would be non-existent if this was being powered by AC. Had to give her a little more volts to get moving, then back off on the throttle to keep from running away. Kind of like a real one, I'm told. It's got great creeping ability. Shine up the handrails and paint, put the shells back on, and let's see the completed project on the tracks.
I wanted to mix up the ending just a little bit here. I've actually got two of these little buggers that I picked up here. This one is the pre-war, which came complete. This one here is made in the 50s. I've decided to leave the pre-war unrestored. I don't want to paint it. I don't want to do anything to it at all. It's now physically running, and I'm just going to pretty much leave it as a shelf princess. Now the 1950s one here, I was putting together a restoration video on it, but I was unable to scare up a tender for it. I thought I'd be able to use the tender off of this one, but I didn't want to modify the heck out of this one because it's so much different than what this one would normally be. This would actually have, this has got a normal DC motor in it. The tender back here picks up power on both sides of the track. That's why there'd be two wires coming through there. So keep an eye out for the completion of this restoration video on this 1950s Hudson. And we're going to wind this one up right here. So thanks so much. Bye-bye.